No further ado, I'd like to invite Gary Geiler, Assistant Director of San Diego Development Services, to come up and give us a quick presentation on accessory dwelling units.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to attend this conference. It's really important to speak with realtors. I do this a lot. This is my favorite group because you guys are on the front lines. You educate current homeowners on what they can do, potential buyers on property, what they can do, and most importantly, verify if things are legal or not. So accessory dwelling units, it's been a hard road over the past 5-6 years, but the trend is our friend. We have increased the amount of ADUs in the pipeline in the production phase, either submitting an application for a permit, getting it built, and getting it occupied. I didn't go further back, but one of the speakers previously talked about we had about 5. I've been at the city for over almost 25 years. There was times when we'd get 1 a year. It's because it was a discretionary process, it was costly, there were a lot of design requirements. So what we did was we made changes to our existing development regulations, our permit processing, and our fee structure. I'm going to talk about all 3 of those. We did that, and it's increased the number of applications received and throughout the city. Where are they happening? Initially, they were only happening in some of these more established neighborhoods where lots could locate them. That was like Claremont, North Park, Uptown, College areas. It was real simple, just add a unit in the back, 1,200 square feet, start renting it out. What we saw as we changed the regulations, they went as far north as Rancho Bernardo, Rancho Penasquitos. The layout of those lots is more established single family, not multifamily, but they are occurring there. Central San Diego obviously has taken on most of them. The coastal areas, La Jolla, PB, Point Loma, Del Mar Heights, even down to San Ysidro, have taken them on, but not as much because there's a requirement for a coastal development permit, which we have just gotten regulations to eliminate that and have exemptions, which we'll see increases in the coastal area, which is important to provide for some of the more naturally affordable units in the coastal zone, and that's been a problem because they haven't been located in the coastal area. And once again, down in the south, all the way to Tijuana and San Ysidro area, which is within the city of San Diego, we've seen increases in ADUs. I'm going to speak specifically about the city of San Diego. Our rules go above and beyond what the state requires. It's different than other jurisdictions within the county. The other speakers on the panel, like my colleague Jared Bassler, will speak to those other jurisdictions. They're not as lenient as the city of San Diego. And we've consistently changed our regulations when we can. We try to update them. We see what's working, what's not working, and we modify our regulations in the Land Development Code. And the state has blessed our regulations, and we've been a model for the state. I've been on panels at the state level where they've identified San Diego as having the best practices for ADUs. And I get other jurisdictions calling me all the time saying, how do you do it? So, where are they located? These are located in all single-family zones and multifamily zones, and more importantly, in commercial zones now. So if you have a commercial mixed-use property that allows residential zoning, you can get an ADU on that property. One thing with MLS, you guys still have R1-5000 designations in San Diego. Can somebody fix that? We have RS and RM designations now. RM11 is the old R3000, RS17 is the old R15. Anyways, so in our zoning code, if you see an RS or an RM, if you see any of the commercial zones that allow residential, you can do that. We also have planned district ordinances. Those are specifically tailored zoning regulations in certain areas. La Jolla Shores, La Jolla Downtown, Old Town. There are areas that have also residential zones. They're not your citywide base zones. They're very unique in particular, but if they allow residential, you have the opportunity to add an ADU on the property. How many can you do? I get this question all the time. We've opened it up. Originally, it was only 1 ADU on a property. Then it was, well, you can get a JADU on a property. Now you can get multiple units on a property. I'll try to make this as simple as possible. If you have a lot, single dwelling unit, it's RS17 zone, you got 1 house on it, you can add an ADU and a JADU. The junior accessory dwelling unit, I'll get into what the specifics are on that, but basically you can get 3. If you're in a TPA, there's also an option to do a bonus affordable unit, and I'll get to that in a second. Multiple dwelling units. If you have an existing duplex, you can get 2 detached ADUs on the property. We're trying to modify it so you can attach it because we've noticed certain properties, it might be not the lot might not be big enough to accommodate a detached unit, so you want to attach it to the unit. We allow for habitable area to be converted and non-habitable area. Habitable area, 25% of the existing habitable area can be converted. Non-habitable is unlimited. So those are garages, those are storage areas, basements, attic spaces. Any of that's already in the existing structure, it's included in the FAR, those types of things. There's no additional impact to the neighborhood. The bulk and scale is already there, so we figured we can do this unlimited. Bonus ADUs, what is this? This has been a huge change over the past year, and we adopted, the state tells every jurisdiction, you need to incentivize people to do ADUs in your jurisdiction. What we did, we said, okay, we'll give them bonus ADUs. So in addition to the base ADUs that you're allowed, if you deed restrict for 15 years, you can get a bonus ADU. And if you're in a transit priority area, that can be unlimited. We have applications now with over 100 ADUs on a property. These are larger multifamily properties, but they've been sitting vacant and underdeveloped because they can't do a typical multifamily apartment complex or condo unit on there. They're going this route because of the fees also. So this is very important to know that on certain properties, you don't get your base 1 or 2. You can get unlimited. And on average, these bonus projects, we're getting about 8 to 12, but there are some in the high 90s or 100s. That's where you can do it. Now, what can you do when you're on the site? They could be within an existing unit. They can be attached or detached. That means the garage if it's attached, the garage if it's detached. It can go on top of existing garages, existing habitable or non-habitable structures on the property. And this is helpful because you can encroach into setbacks. Setbacks are very important on some of these lots because you might have existing structures on the property line that were built at a different time. Our zoning code changes. We have different setback rules in different zones. So over time, things become previously conforming or grandfathered in. How do we address that? Well, we said if you have something existing within the setback, you can convert that. So the garage that's in the setback, you can convert that. You can add the second unit on top of the garage within the setback to accommodate it. Because some of these lots are smaller and that's where they need to be. You can encroach in the side and rear yard property lines, not the front, not the street side yards. Those were maintained to provide, neighborhood character in some of the neighborhoods. We don't want the encroachments going out there. Could be an exception if you have an existing garage that's within the front yard setback. You want to convert that, you can do that. What does that do to parking? We'll get there in a minute. So setbacks are important, and it's always important to verify your setbacks. Homeowners do not know. Say, well, my mailbox is there, my front door is there, that's my front door. No, that's not. We have rules for calculation and measurement that determine, based on the width and depth of your lot, what is actually your front yard. We also have things called established setbacks. A lot of the older subdivisions, when they were built, said, okay, the setback's going to be 5 foot. Claremont, you might sign that are 10 feet. Down in La Jolla, I've seen them at 5 feet. So established setbacks are important. Those are on the subdivision maps, and you need to verify what the actual setback is for the property. But this has been a huge boon to allowing more units in the city because we allow encroachments into setbacks. State law says no greater than 4 feet. And most other jurisdictions in the county of San Diego are keeping that 4 foot. We want to maintain that with encroachments. What can you do with height? You can go up to 30 foot, which is typically the height of the base zone. And how about the size? It's a maximum 1,200 square feet. Now, 1,200 square feet, we calculate that architecturally. We don't use habitable or non-habitable. It's what's within the existing exterior walls and the roof. So it's 1,200 square feet. That's pretty large. That's pretty large. You can go over the FAR of an existing zone. Some properties are already previously conforming. They've maxed out their FAR, right? What do you do in that case? We allow for a maximum 1 unit at 800 square feet on a property. So you can get an 800 square foot and exceed the FAR without a variance, without a public hearing, without community group, environmental review. It's ministerial at the staff level. So what do we do when we convert that parking? We convert that garage. Well, we said you don't have to replace the parking at all. Our latest changes allowed you to not replace it. If you want to replace it, you can put it within the front setback, which is by code not allowed, but you can put it within the front yard setback, which is typically 15 feet on a single family lot. It has to be within the property line, so it's important to know where your property line is. Just because my grass starts there at the curb doesn't mean that's my property line. It might be 5-10 feet in, so you need to check your curb to property line distance to make sure. We can't have a car parked out in the right-of-way because that would be problematic for pedestrians and other vehicles. So garages can be converted. If you want to demo the garage to put in a new ADU in that location, or a carport or some type of parking structure, you can demolish and convert that and provide the ADU. What have we been seeing? I've been seeing people provide the parking. Obviously, you want to get the highest and best use. You want to rent the property. Most likely these developers, and these are homeowners doing it too, they want parking on their property, so they're not completely ignoring the parking. Previous speaker on the other issues talked about no parking for 100 units. That's rare. They are providing parking because otherwise they're going to be hard to rent. If you're downtown or a highly urban area next to a TPA or a transit stop, then maybe there's going to be some reduction in parking. But that has cleared up a lot of confusion on when and where you can do ADUs, because before there were about 10 different exemptions you could apply. We just said, let's make it simple. If you want to convert, you don't have to replace the parking. What is the junior accessory dwelling unit? The junior accessory dwelling unit differs from the regular accessory dwelling unit because it is within the existing dwelling. It's within an existing garage or within a proposed ADU. Originally, it was intended only to be within perhaps a conversion of an existing bedroom or family room within an existing house. It was for an aging parent or a family member that came back to live with you. It had access to the main unit in terms of a bathroom, but it needed at least a kitchen or a kitchenette. This was one way to reduce the cost of converting. It does require a building permit. There's some design involved in it, so that was one option. We've now allowed these junior accessory dwelling units to not be within that habitable area only, but within a detached garage, within a proposed ADU on the property as well. They are 500 square foot max, so they're smaller than a typical ADU. The minimum is 150 square feet if anyone wants to know, and we have seen some around 150 to 200 square feet. There's a segment of the population that would be able to rent that. That's fine. They do need a separate entry. They need a kitchen, but it's a kitchenette. It's something that's just you can provide for cooking and preparation of food. The one difference, and this is key, is an owner occupancy requirement. We eliminated that for regular accessory dwelling units, and that did preclude a lot of property owners because you had to live on the property, either within the accessory dwelling unit or within the main property. We got rid of that for ADUs, but for JADUs, since it's typically within the house or within the attached garage, there's an owner occupancy requirement. So you need to record it at the county recorder, and city staff does this. They fill out the form, it goes on the title, and it says you're going to live either in the junior unit or the primary unit. And we do have a lot of code cases of developers renting out junior accessory dwelling units, so don't try it. We catch up with you eventually. So that's key takeaways. The agreement's not required for the ADU anymore, but it is for the JADU. If you do rent these, one thing that council wanted to make sure of, these were not short-term vacation rentals, so there's a 31-day minimum rental. You can still have guest quarters and other accessory structures on a property. Guest structures are not to be rented out or lived in, but pool houses, gyms, music rooms that are attached or detached can also be on the property. Garages, other things as well, just subject to your FAR on the property. So it's important to keep in mind some of the site constraints on the property. Obviously, there could be easements on the property that's going to preclude you. That's where the design professionals come in and let you know if there's water and sewer easements, et cetera. Process, what did we do? We took it from over a year and 20 grand and headaches with the community planning groups and neighbors objecting to a building permit. This means it's ministerial. It's staff level review. It's a separately regulated use. They go through the code. They make sure you comply. Is it allowed in that zone? Does it comply with the development regulations? Do you need the agreement or not? Review your plans, stamp it, it's done. So, hot off the presses is we finally got agreement with the Coastal Commission on some type of exemption. These were always required to obtain a coastal development permit in the coastal zone. And the coastal zone is generally 5 west to the coast. In La Jolla, it's odd because it cuts probably through half of it. In PB, there's some areas that are not involved in it. But it's always important to verify if you're in or outside of the coastal zone. And by coastal zone, there's the city's jurisdiction, and then there's the state's jurisdiction. We both have jurisdiction over permitting authority. So now the new rules would be how to be exempt. If you're converting areas within existing habitable space, you have a 2-story single-family house in the coastal zone. Outside of, you're not on a bluff, you're not in those sensitive areas. You want to convert that second story to an ADU. You can do that because it's now exemption. We've got an exemption criteria in the code. Now, what if you want to do the detached one? Little tricky. We worked with them. That's why I wanted to get that later. We kind of started out on different sides of the spectrum here, and we kind of came to an agreement finally. I just wanted to exempt them in all cases. The state wasn't that helpful in helping us. But so if you want to do the new one, basically what we're going to do is a ministerial coastal development permit. This is something new we've never had before. It's not going to require the long, lengthy hearing process, environmental review, but it is going to require the planner on my staff to review the project against the local coastal program and community plan. Within the city of San Diego, there's about 50 different community plan areas: La Jolla, Torrey Pines, Claremont, San Ysidro. They have their own community plan. If they're within the coastal zone, there's also a local coastal program. And that has additional criteria that staff used to do in a discretionary realm, apply conditions to permits. In this case, they're just going to look through there and say, okay, what applies and what doesn't? Are there view corridors on this street? Okay, you're not going to be allowed to encroach in that setback. You're going to have to move it back. Are there architectural encroachments that I can have a balcony or a deck? No, you can't have those because you're in the coastal zone. So it's something new for us. As we speak, we're modifying our internal processes and updating staff on how to move this forward. The Coastal Commission literally just gave this back to us. Our city council is going to act on it hopefully within 30 to 60 days. What else happened to help? Fees. Accessory dwelling units are always charged a development impact fee. If you do another unit in the city of San Diego, you're charged a DIF fee, a development impact fee. That is to cover for infrastructure. Every community plan has a certain level. It could be $5,000 in one community plan. It could be $25,000, $30,000 in another community plan area. That was to help with the infrastructure that was necessary for the additional development. We eliminated the DIF fee completely for accessory dwelling units. So what used to be a $25,000, $35,000 permit alone, just to accommodate the fees, came down to what is just cost recoverable for my staff in the Development Services Department to review. We got rid of some other fees: the facilities benefit assessment, general plan maintenance, a mapping fee. Sandag had a regional transportation congestion impact fee. There's so many fees. Don't complain about the city fees that we charge. Ours are minimal. It's all these other agencies and fees that we have to tack on in order to issue that building permit. But we got it down to the level of what it takes for a reviewer to do a review on a project and inspect that project. So it's about $2,000 to $3,000 a fee. There's a lot of other regulations to consider. Historic is one, but we work with you on applying the appropriate regulations to implement those. We have a lot of information on our website that is very helpful, including zoning, to find out where these are allowed. And just once again, the progress has been great. We want to maintain this progress going forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Gary. If the other panelists could make their way up here, while they make their way up here, if everyone could stand up real quick, get a little blood flowing. Go ahead, pull out your phones, hop on Instagram, tag SDAR, show all your clients that you're out here learning. So go